Alright guys, story time on this beautiful Friday evening. This story goes back a long time ago. Me and, we'll call him Joe. Me and Joe were out one night and on motorcycles. And we was in one small town looking for some racing. Couldn't find nothing. So we decided to drive to another town that was like 40 miles. We had been out there before in our cars, and the street scene was pretty good. So we thought, we'll go out there on motorcycles and we can find us some racing. So we drive 40 dang miles, man, out there. And so while we're out there, we said, you know what, we're going to get a motel room while we're out here. Just stay the night and come out the next day. So we do. There's a little single level little motel there. It's not even there no more. There's a little single level motel room there. And so we go in there and get us a little motel room. It was like $100 a night. It wasn't nothing. Me and Joe split it. And we went out looking for street racing on the streets. This little town. We had been there many times. And usually had really good luck. And so we went out looking, and we drove all over that dang city, man, that night. Couldn't find nothing, man. Nobody was out. So we stopped at this little gas station, and we kicked back and was just shooting shit. And we kept hearing something behind us. It sounded like a motorcycle. And we kept leaning, but we just heard like a little blip of it, you know, and then nothing, a little blip, and then nothing. And we kept looking. We was like, is that a dang motorcycle we kept hearing? So we heard it 2 or 3 times. We finally was like, we need to go up there and figure out what this is. Because if it's a motorcycle, we're going to race. So me and old Joe, we jumped on the motorcycles and we drove through the gas station parking lot. We drove through, because we didn't know the area that well. We drove through this ravine and drove up into the apartment complex. And when we got in the apartment complex, we cut our bikes off. And in the stairways, the breezeways, you could hear motorcycles on the other side of that apartment complex. So again, we didn't know how to get over there. So we drove our motorcycles through the breezeway, through another ditch, and come out on this little tiny road. And we seen a motorcycle. We was like, all right, you know, hey, here's us some fresh meat. So me and Joe, we flagged him down, and the dude was from Memphis. He had come down there. They were building a Taco Bell down the street, and he had trailered his brand new Camel Racing Series motorcycle. And me and Joe, I was on an old Honda 650 Nighthawk. Joe's on like a Yamaha 750-850. It's older bikes, 82s, 83s, 84s. And but that Camel Racing Series bike was brand new crotch rock. It was a nice bike. Had a little camel on it and everything. Well, the old boy couldn't drive. He couldn't drive his way up paper sack. So me and Joe was like, hell, we got a race now, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. So we told this guy, you know, we'll take it, you know, at first we thought that he would just outrun us, you know what I'm saying? Because he had a much faster bike, but he couldn't drive. So there's a straightaway. This straightaway is like I bet it was 3/4 of a mile long behind this motel. And so we go behind this motel and we line them up and we race. And me and Joe ran out of that boy's life because he couldn't drive. So we turn around and we race again and we race again. So then we got where we was just spotting him. We'd let him go out 5, 6, 7, 8 bikes and just take off and chase him down and pass him. And on the one end of the straightaway was a 90-degree curve. On the other end of the straightaway was the main highway. So we were racing back and forth. We probably raced that dude 10, 15 times, you know what I'm saying? Just having a damn ball. So we're turning around this curve. I remember telling this dude on his Camel bike, just go. Like, just go. I'm going to somebody chase you down. So he did. He took off. And he got out there pretty far. I remember thinking, I'm not going to catch, me and Joe ain't going to catch him. Me and Joe took off. We're driving these bikes like we stole them. And as soon as we go to come around this dude, we look up and we're at the end of that straightaway pretty much. And a city cop had turned in the road and blocked the road. And we locked the tires up on them bikes, you know, because he is now blocking the road. And how we got those bikes to stop, I have no damn clue. and we got them bikes to stop, and we stopped. We wasn't 10 feet from him. And I remember Joe was on the far right, the Camel bike was in the middle, and I was on the far left. And that cop, he come flying around the front of that cop car. When he did, I dumped the clutch and went around the back side of the cop car. And I didn't go 20 feet, and there's a highway. And we didn't know this area from Adam. We knew it a little bit, but not enough. And I hit that main highway and went right. And I went over the interstate, and like I said, didn't know the area very well, but I knew just enough. And there was a road on my right, and I turned on that road and went down through there very, very short period. And I looked to my right, and I seen a construction entrance and a bunch of bulldozers and excavators. Well, I said, well, hell, I'm going to go hide in there behind one of them excavators. So I'm flying. Well, my motorcycle, I had it set up for where when I got in those situations, I had a switch, and you cut it off, and it would kill the headlight on the motorcycle. But everything else still worked on the motorcycle, but it would kill the headlight. So I had to kill that headlight when I was, trying to outrun them. And I went in that parking lot, and there was a Cracker Barrel. And I went in that parking lot with no headlight, probably still running 30, 40, 50 mile an hour, strolling. Looking over my shoulder, seeing the blue lights behind me. And I go in that parking lot. It's a gravel parking lot. And I'm going through this parking lot trying to see what's on the other end of it, and all of a sudden I'm eating gravel. There was a small creek that ran kind of on the side of this construction thing, and I went off in it face first. And I got up, and my bike was kind of halfway in the water, halfway in the pea gravel. I drug it out of the pea gravel, and by the time all this happens, I look up, and I hear sirens, and I see blue lights, and I said, oh man, I'm about to go to jail. That ditch is almost perfectly like 5 foot, 6 foot deep. And I'm standing there looking out of that ditch, and these cop cars, multiple now, are shining their spotlights across that field. Well, from their angle, they couldn't see that ditch. Heck, I didn't see it. I drove off in it. But they were shining a spotlight. Well, they kept going down the road and shining a spotlight. I left the motorcycle in the ditch, and I walked down the creek bank, jumped out of the creek bank, walked up on this little hill. I'll never forget sitting on this hill on my helmet and picking twigs and breaking twigs, looking over the interstate at the blue lights over there at Joe and that dude on that crotch rocket. I thought they were going to jail, so I wasn't sure. I was like, all right, well, they're probably going to go to jail. So I wait, and I walk down to Burger King or Taco Bell, whatever it was. We had payphones then. So I go out, now 3 or 4 or 5 hours done passed by, and the police are gone. So I walk down there to that payphone, and I call that motel room. Tell them what name it is under, and I'm there thinking maybe Joe will answer, maybe he won't. He answered. And, he said that they got like a $800 reckless driving ticket. And they told him if they catch anybody from Memphis or Franklin on a motorcycle, they're going straight to jail. Because the one guy was from Memphis and Joe was from Franklin, I believe. And so I was like, all right. So I left that bike in that creek, for hours. And I sit out there for hours. And I finally, like 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, I finally got that bike out of that creek, and I cruised down the highway, and I had called Joe back and told him I was coming. And I'll never forget pulling in that motel parking lot, and Joe opened the door to the motel. It's a single level motel, gravel parking lot. I remember Joe had the motel room door open, and his motorcycle was already in the motel. He parked his motorcycle in the motel room. And I remember pulling in that gravel parking lot and driving that motorcycle off in that motel room. And Joe shut the door. And I was thinking, man, I couldn't believe that I got there without going to jail. And so, and it was late 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So we go to sleep, and all of a sudden we hear the door handle turning. And this is now, the sun's coming up. I remember I was in one bed, Joe was in another bed, and I remember yelling at Joe. I said, hey, somebody's trying to get in the room. And this cleaning lady opens the door, and when she does, she heard the door hits the back tire of my motorcycle. She looks at me, I look at her, she freaks out, slams the door. I yell at Joe, we gotta go. Like, we're about to go to jail, we gotta go. We jump up, grab all our crap, look outside, don't see nobody, pushing motorcycles outside, and jump on them, fire them up, we tear out. We get to another town about 20 miles down the road, pull over, get something to drink, get gas. I see this before phones, guys. And I'll never forget walking in that store and asking that guy what time it was. And he's like, 7 a.m. And I was like, you're kidding me. He's like, nope. And I was like, oh my, I thought it was like 11, 12 o'clock. I thought we had slept past our, checkout, 7 a.m. I was like, crap. So me and Joe kind of went our separate ways. He went home, I went home. And I'm headed home, and my motorcycle starts sounding rough from where I wrecked it. And I was like, oh man. And I'm getting closer to home, and it's really loud, and I pass a cop car. He pulls out behind me. Now it sounds like I'm doing 120 miles an hour. I'm doing 20, and he follows me down that road. I'm almost home. He follows me down that road, and I'm giving that motorcycle more gas. All of a sudden, motor blew up. I pulled over on the side of the road. Old cop gets out, walks over to me. He goes, you blow it up? I said, yes, sir, I did. He said, it sounds like you did. I said, I did. He said, you got a driver's license? I said, no, sir, I don't. And he started laughing. He goes, you need to borrow my phone to call somebody to come get you? I said, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And so I went over to his cop car, and he let me borrow his phone. I called Brother David at home. Thank God he picked up. And I was like, hey, come get me. I'm on the side of the road, blowed up motorcycle. I said, don't ask no damn questions, just get here. Old David pulled up in that green 96 Ford F-150. And that old bike was heavy. And I told David, don't ask no questions. And we grabbed the front end of that bike and picked it up. And that old cop walked over and helped us pick it back of that motorcycle up and pushed it back in that truck. I let it fall over. And I said, don't it ain't going to fly. It'll be all right. And we struck out. And got home, and kind of found out when I wrecked the bike, I knocked all the fans off the front of the motor and on the side of the motor, and I guess it just got hot and blew up. But yeah, I'll never forget that, guys, and I know Joe will never forget it either. Just how lucky we got that night, and how lucky I got that night. And Joe got a ticket, but yeah, it was crazy. It's crazy. So. But all right, guys, I appreciate y'all following and listening, and I hope you enjoyed it, and y'all have a good one.